Hey guys, welcome to my living room. My wife and I decided we wanted to create some cool curtain holders. So I cast my hands to create these beautiful pieces in Smooth On's alginate called Algisafe. It's a really quick one-time mold that captures gorgeous detail. Also, what I've used is one of my favorites, Smoothcast 300Q. The Q is for quick. We don't want the resin to set up in the alginate and froth and bubble, so the timing on this is perfect for it. Let me show you how this is done. So I have 3 deli cups of Algisafe and 3 deli cups of warm water at about 80 degrees. I'm going to dispense my Algisafe into a larger container because I like to mix my wet into my dry. It just is easier to mix. I've decided that I'm probably going to go with 2.5 cups of the Algisafe. This way the length and depth of my casting varies from the second one. Once all my water is in, I'm going to take a large mixing stick and fold that water into my Algisafe, working out all of the lumps. Once my lumps are worked out and the Algisafe is nice and smooth, I can place my hand into the bucket, which I'm first actually going to wet to break the surface tension when casting. You can also do this by placing your hand in and out of the Algisafe, also breaking the surface tension on your skin and minimizing any bubbles that may collect, which I'm showing you here. Just let that run across your skin, and once it's covered, we're ready to place our hands into the bucket, of which you want to make sure that you're not touching the bottoms or the sides of your bucket. This way your material won't run out of the mold. 5 minutes later, it's set up. You'll want to slowly dislodge your skin from inside of the mold and slowly pull your hand out. We don't want to rip the inside of the mold, and that mold material is very soft. And we have a great pour spout for our resin. Now I'm going to put on some nitrile gloves and pre-mix my material. I always shake my material, it's a good thing to do. And make sure you keep your fingers on the caps. This way, the material won't splash up at you. Once my A and B are pre-mixed, I'm going to dispense each one into a smaller cup. And I'm going to do this by volume, which is a 1-to-1. Do the same thing with my A. And once these are dispensed, we want to place them inside of a deli cup using a mixing stick. And we don't have much time to work with this. The 300Q starts setting up within 30 seconds. So I'm going to do a quick stir and then pour into a second cup. And then do a rather quick stir with this one as well. At this point, once I grab my cup, I can start to feel that material getting warm. It's starting to exotherm. So it's time for me to pour this material, of which I'm going to pour half of it into my mold and then slosh it around. And the reason is it'll minimize any bubbles that'll collect in the fingertips of my casting. I get that as much in there as possible, and then pour the rest of my material. Remember, this stuff sets up really fast, as we can see from the spaghetti strand. That's okay. I can pour more material into that bucket. As you can see here, I didn't fill it up all the way, but I can pour more material, mix some more, and pour it right in. Okay, I think we're good. I've filled the mold cavity. I'm allowing it to settle in, and I should probably slosh this around a little bit just to make sure that it's in there. Some of the material fell out the side, that's okay. And it's starting to set up, and it's looking good. Okay, there we are. Some of the material fell off to the side, that's okay, I can cut that off later. Let's set up for the left hand. We're going to do the same technique. Mix our Algisafe into our water, put our hand in and out to break surface tension, allow that to set for 5 minutes, mix our resin, pour half of our resin, slosh around, pour the rest, and there we are. That's a nice casting. Great. I'm going to let these sit for about 10 to 15 minutes and cool down. They're pretty hot right now. Now that my pieces are cooled down, I can demold. I'm just going to pull apart the bucket, and now you're going to see why people love working with AlgiSafe. Besides the fact that it's skin safe and it's a really easy mixture, it also tears apart very easily. You just want to find a point and start tearing away at the mold. And as you can see from the detail that it captured from my hand, it's yet another reason why people love AlgiSafe. That looks great. You can see the veins, you can see the texture of my skin. And let's do the next hand. Okay. Our next step is, what I've done is, well, I brought the camera a little closer and you can take a look at some of the textures that we captured. And I've cleaned up these pieces by sanding them down. This way they'll sit flat on my melamine board. I'm going to take a water-based marker and line out the bottom of the wrist of the piece just to give me some dimension on my board so I can draw around it. So I'm going to draw out the walls, or the shape that I would like for these pieces to adhere to, right onto my board. And probably a couple of circles. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but it's probably good to have them around as part of the decor. Okay. Now that it's done, I'm going to use Sculptex, which is a great non-drying clay to place around the edges of my mold lines. It's really easy to work with. I just want to cut 1/4-inch strips and then cut those 1/4-inch strips in half. Now I'm going to lay those down following the lines that I drew, making sure that I press the material onto the board. This way it adheres and there are no leaks coming out of the sides when I pour resin. Now that it's down on the board, I'm going to use universal mold release. This will allow for any resin to release from the board and from the clay. You don't need much, and make sure you do this in a well-ventilated area. I'm going to spray right into my mold, and once I spray into that mold, I'm going to brush my material, allow it to dry for about 5 minutes, and then spray again, and then allow it to dry for another 5 minutes. Looks good. Now we can allow this to dry, and we'll go in with some Smoothcast 300. Okay, we're going to use the same technique as we did before. Pre-mix our A and B. Once our A and B are dispensed, we're going to pour them into a deli cup, do a quick mix, pour it into a second cup, and do another quick mix. Okay, so I'm going to lay the flat surface of my first casting onto the board, and I'm going to pour around it. Carefully, not trying to over pour into my mold. What's great about the 300Qs is it sets up within 30 seconds, so I can actually stand there with the piece until it sets up. We'll do the same thing to the other hand. And there we are. We had a little over pour, but that's okay, we can clean that up. Now that those are nice and cool, I can demold these pieces. What I'm going to do is just pull away at the clay, which was made easy by using the mold release agent. It comes right off, and I can pull those hands from the board easy enough. Excellent. Let's do it with the other hand. Looks good. Okay, what you're going to find is you might have a little bit of flash, which you can take an X-Acto knife and cut away, or you can sand it down. I'm going to take these downstairs and I'm going to clean them up with a little bit of Palmolive and get them ready for paint. Now that we're nice and clean, we're ready for paint. I'm going to use a metallic Krylon paint, follow it up with shoe polish and isopropyl alcohol, which I'm going to apply with a sponge brush, and once they're dry I'm going to finish it with a matte Krylon spray. Okay, so first what I want to do is actually spray paint my pieces and allow them to dry. I know it's a little unorthodox to follow it up with alcohol and shoe polish, but as you can see here, I'm going to play around with the paint. I want to get a tattered look. The alcohol is going to pull away some of that spray paint when I apply the shoe polish, and also add some of the shoe polish directly onto the piece, which I can follow up with more spray paint, more shoe polish, and brush away some of the shoe polish with a paper towel or even another brush. An hour later, these pieces are nice and dry, and I'm going to coat them with our Krylon matte coat. And now it's time for the big reveal. Because Smoothcast 300 is machinable, I was able to screw some brackets into the back and then screw them onto the walls. I think it looks great, my wife loves it, and I hope you did too. Thank you for hanging out with me. Until next time.